Imagine you're reading these words right now. But what if I told you that the light hitting your eyes isn't traveling forward through time? It's actually moving backward. What if every photon that's ever entered your eye arrived from the future, not the past? What if the sunset you watched last night wasn't light that left the sun 8 minutes ago, but light that's been traveling in reverse through time since the end of the universe? This isn't science fiction. This is a legitimate interpretation of quantum mechanics proposed by some of the most brilliant physicists of the 20th century. And here's what will absolutely shatter your understanding of reality. There's mathematical evidence suggesting they might be right. Right now, you think you're seeing the past. When you look at a star, you believe you're seeing light that left that star years ago. But what if you're actually seeing the future? What if causality, the very foundation of how we understand cause and effect, is completely backward for light? Before we go any further, smash that like button, because you're about to question everything you thought you knew about time, light, and reality itself. And subscribe, because by the end of this video, you're going to see the universe in a way you never imagined possible. Also, drop a comment telling me what country you're watching from and what time it is right now, because time is about to get very, very strange. Here's the mind-bending part. If light really does move backward in time, then the light entering your eyes right now is being emitted by your eyes in the future. You're not receiving information from the past. You're receiving information from a future version of yourself. The universe isn't a film playing forward. It's a film playing in both directions simultaneously. Let me start with something that should comfort you. Light definitely travels at the speed of light. That part we know. What we don't know, what even the greatest physicists in history couldn't agree on, is whether light travels forward or backward through time. And the craziest part? The math works both ways. Think of it like this. Imagine you're watching a movie of a ball rolling across a table. Now play that movie backward. The ball still follows all the laws of physics. It still obeys Newton's laws of motion. You can't tell, just by watching the ball, which direction is correct. That's essentially what's happening with light and time. The equations that govern light work perfectly whether time is moving forward or backward. Now, you might be thinking, this is just theoretical nonsense. Light obviously moves forward in time. I see things after they happen, not before. But here's where things get disturbing. You're making an assumption about what seeing means. And that assumption might be completely wrong. Let's build your understanding from the ground up, because you need to grasp something fundamental about light before we can break reality. Light is not what you think it is. You've been taught that light is a wave, or maybe you learned it's a particle. Both answers are wrong, or rather, both are incomplete. Light is something far stranger. In 1905, a patent clerk named Albert Einstein published a paper that would change everything. He proposed that light comes in discrete packets called photons. Not waves, not continuous streams, individual particles of light. But here's the twist that physicists didn't appreciate for decades. These photons don't experience time the way you do. Think of it like a train journey. You board a train, travel for 3 hours, and arrive at your destination. You experience those 3 hours you ate lunch, read a book, watched the scenery pass. But from the perspective of a photon traveling from the sun to your eye, 0 time passes. The moment it's emitted from the sun and the moment it strikes your eye are the same instant. A photon doesn't age. It doesn't experience duration. For a photon, the beginning and end of its journey are simultaneous. This is mathematically precise. As you approach the speed of light, time dilation becomes so extreme that at light speed, time stops completely. A photon exists in a timeless state. It's simultaneously everywhere along its path. The sun and your eye, from the photon's perspective, are the same place at the same time. Now here's where your brain should start hurting. If a photon doesn't experience time, how can we say it travels forward through time? The very concept becomes meaningless. Forward implies a direction through time. But photons don't move through time. They exist outside of it. In 1940, a brilliant physicist named Richard Feynman was a graduate student at Princeton, working with his advisor, John Wheeler. Wheeler was one of those rare minds that questioned everything, never satisfied with conventional answers. One day, Wheeler called Feynman into his office and proposed something radical. What if there's only one electron in the entire universe? Feynman must have looked confused, so Wheeler explained. What if there's just one electron, zigzagging back and forth through time, and what we perceive as multiple electrons are just different moments in that single electron's journey? When an electron moves forward in time, we see it as an electron. When it moves backward in time, we see it as a positron and anti-electron. This wasn't idle speculation. Wheeler and Feynman developed this into a legitimate theory called the Wheeler-Feynman absorber theory. And buried in that theory was a shocking proposition. For the math to work, you need particles that travel backward in time, not metaphorically, actually backward through time. Here's the revelation that physicists struggled with: antimatter, which we now know exists and can create in laboratories, behaves exactly like normal matter moving backward through time. A positron moving forward through time is mathematically identical to an electron moving backward through time. They're not just similar, they're indistinguishable. Think of it like watching a film of someone walking backward. Is the person walking backward, or is the film playing in reverse? Both descriptions are equally valid. In physics, we call this time reversal symmetry. The equations work the same whether you run time forward or backward. But light takes this to another level entirely. In 1949, Feynman developed what's now called Feynman diagrams, visual representations of particle interactions. And in these diagrams, photons can move in either time direction. It's not an error or an approximation. It's fundamental to how quantum field theory works. Let me paint you a picture of what this means. Right now, photons are hitting your eyes. In the conventional view, these photons were emitted by your screen milliseconds ago, traveled through space, and entered your eyes. But there's an equally valid interpretation. These photons were emitted by your eyes in the future, traveled backward through time, bounced off your screen, and continued their backward journey into the past. Both descriptions produce identical predictions. Both match experimental results. There's no experiment you can do to prove one interpretation is right and the other is wrong. They're mathematically equivalent. Here's where we need to pause and address something crucial. This isn't pseudoscience. This isn't mysticism dressed up in physics language. This is the actual mathematics that makes quantum electrodynamics work, the same theory that's been tested to 10 decimal places and never found wrong. The same theory that explains how your smartphone screen works, how solar panels generate electricity, how lasers function. The backward in time interpretation isn't wrong. It's just uncomfortable. It violates our intuition about causality. It makes us feel like reality is upside down. But here's what you need to understand. Reality doesn't care about your comfort. Reality is what it is, whether we like it or not. Let's get more concrete. In the 1960s, physicists discovered something called the CPT theorem, one of the most profound and ironclad laws in all of physics. It states that if you take any physical process, reverse the charge, C, flip it in a mirror, P, and reverse time, T, you get another valid physical process. This isn't just theory. We've tested this in particle accelerators millions of times, and every single time it holds true. Time reversal is baked into the fundamental laws of nature. But here's the twist that will reframe everything. The CPT theorem tells us that for every process moving forward in time, there's an equivalent process moving backward in time. They're not just allowed, they're required by the symmetry of nature. Imagine dropping a glass on the floor. it shatters. We all know that's normal. Now imagine the shattered glass spontaneously reassembling and jumping back into your hand. That seems impossible, right? It violates the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy always increases. Things get more disordered, not more ordered. But here's the thing. The fundamental laws of physics, the equations that govern individual particles, are completely time-symmetric. They work equally well forward or backward. The shattering glass moving backward through time doesn't violate any fundamental laws. It only seems wrong because of statistics, the probability of all those molecules coordinating perfectly is astronomically small. For light, though, that statistical problem doesn't exist. A single photon traveling backward in time is just as likely as a single photon forward. There's no entropy increase or decrease for a single photon in empty space. The distinction between forward and backward time becomes truly arbitrary. Think of it like a highway. Cars generally travel in one direction per lane because of convention and traffic laws. But mechanically, a car can drive either direction. The road doesn't care. Physics is like that road. Time usually flows one direction because of entropy, because of the statistical behavior of trillions of particles. But for individual photons, that constraint doesn't apply. Now let me tell you about one of the most disturbing experiments in quantum mechanics. One that makes the backward-in-time interpretation seem not just possible, but necessary. In 1978, a physicist named John Wheeler, the same Wheeler who proposed the one-electron universe, designed a thought experiment called the delayed choice experiment. Here's how it works. You send a single photon toward a beam splitter, a device that gives the photon a 50-50 chance of going two different paths. At the end of each path, you can put a detector. So far, so normal. The photon takes one path or the other, and you detect which one. But here's Wheeler's twist. You decide whether to put the detectors in place after the photon has already passed the beam splitter. You make your choice when the photon is already committed to its path. Yet experiments show that your future choice affects the photon's past behavior. If you decide to measure which path it took, the photon behaves like it took one path. If you decide not to measure, the photon behaves like it took both paths simultaneously. Think about that. Your choice in the future affects the photon's behavior in the past. Cause and effect are reversed. The effect happens first, then the cause. This experiment was actually performed in 1984 by Carol Alley at the University of Maryland, and it confirmed Wheeler's prediction. Since then, it's been repeated hundreds of times with increasingly sophisticated setups. The results are always the same. The future affects the past for quantum particles like photons. Now, the standard interpretation tries to explain this without time reversal. It says the photon exists in a superposition in both paths simultaneously until you measure it, and then it collapses into one path. But here's the problem. That explanation requires action at a distance, instantaneous effects, and a special role for consciousness or measurement devices. It creates more problems than it solves. The time reversal interpretation is actually simpler. The photon travels backward in time from your detector to the beam splitter. Your future choice literally sends a signal backward in time that determines the photon's past behavior. There's no spooky action at a distance. There's no wave function collapse. There's just a photon moving backward through time. Which interpretation is correct? Here's the thing. They make identical predictions. Every experiment comes out the same either way. The universe doesn't care which story you tell yourself. Both stories describe the same reality. But the backward-in-time interpretation has an elegance that's hard to ignore. It eliminates some of the weirdest features of quantum mechanics: the measurement problem, the collapse of the wave function, the apparent role of consciousness. Instead, it replaces them with something equally weird but more consistent: time-symmetric physics. Let me introduce you to the transactional interpretation of quantum mechanics, developed by John Cramer at the University of Washington in 1986. Cramer took the backward-in-time idea seriously and built a complete interpretation of quantum mechanics around it. Here's how it works. When your screen emits a photon toward your eye, it's actually sending out an offer wave forward in time. Simultaneously, your eye is sending out a confirmation wave backward in time. These waves meet in the middle, create a transaction, and that's when the photon's path becomes real. In other words, every photon you see is the result of a handshake between the past and future. The emission point in the past and the absorption point in the future reach back through time to agree on the photon's journey. Neither the past nor the future is primary. They're equal partners in creating the present. Think of it like making plans with a friend. You send a text saying coffee tomorrow? Your friend replies, yes. Neither message alone completes the plan. You need both the offer and the confirmation. In Cramer's interpretation, physics works the same way. Every particle interaction is a negotiation between the past and future. This sounds insane, I know. But here's what will blow your mind. This interpretation solves problems that have plagued quantum mechanics for a century. It explains the delayed choice experiment perfectly. It explains quantum entanglement without requiring faster-than-light communication. It explains the measurement problem without invoking consciousness or parallel universes. And all it requires is accepting that the future affects the past just as much as the past affects the future. Now, you might be wondering, if the future affects the past, why can't we send messages backward in time? Why can't we warn our past selves about mistakes? Why can't we see the future? The answer is subtle but crucial. You can't use backward-in-time photons to send information because information requires more than just photons. It requires patterns, correlations, structures. And those structures are still constrained by entropy, by the statistical behavior of large numbers of particles. Think of it like this. Imagine a video playing on your phone. The individual pixels can update in any order. Some could even be updating backward in time in some quantum sense. But the overall pattern, the image you see, still progresses forward because of the coordination of billions of pixels. You can't have a coherent message that moves backward through time because that would require decreasing entropy, organizing information where there was none. Individual photons can move backward in time, but information, meaning messages, memories, can't. That's why you remember the past, but not the future, even though individual particles don't distinguish between past and future. But here's where things get really interesting. There might be exceptions. In 2011, Yakir Aharonov, a physicist at Chapman University, published a series of papers on something called weak measurements. These are measurements so gentle they don't disturb the quantum system much. And in weak measurements, you can sometimes see hints of the future affecting the past, not at the level of individual particles, but at the level of statistical patterns. Aharonov showed that if you prepare a quantum system in a particular state, let it evolve, and then select only certain outcomes, you can see effects that look like the future final measurement affected the system's earlier behavior. It's like the system knew where it was going to end up. These aren't just theoretical predictions. Experiments by teams at the University of Toronto and other institutions have confirmed these effects. The future does affect the past in subtle, statistical ways that don't let you send messages, but do create patterns that shouldn't exist if time only flowed forward. Let me hit you with something that should completely reorient your understanding. Light doesn't experience time, which means every photon that has ever existed or will ever exist might be, in some sense, the same photon. Remember Wheeler's one-electron universe? Apply that to photons. What if there's just one photon, zigzagging back and forth through all of space and time? What we perceive as billions of photons, the light from every star, every lamp, Every screen might be the same photon at different points in its eternal journey. This isn't as crazy as it sounds. Photons are indistinguishable. Unlike electrons, which have different energies and can be tracked individually, all photons of the same frequency are absolutely identical. There's no way to tell them apart. They don't have identity. They don't have history. So when a photon is absorbed and another is emitted, you can't actually say there are two photons. You can only say that photons interacted with matter. The photon that left the sun and the photon that hit your eye might be the same photon, just at different points in a time loop that spans the entire universe. Think of it like a string that's been woven through fabric in a complex pattern. From one side of the fabric, you see the string entering and exiting at different points, and you might think there are many separate strings. But it's all one string, just moving through the fabric in a complicated path. That's possibly what light is. One photon weaving through the fabric of space-time, creating the illusion of many photons because we're stuck in our local perspective, unable to see the full pattern. Now here's your retention hook for the next section. If light really does move backward in time, then everything you're about to learn about causality, about free will, about the nature of reality itself, is about to change. Because if the future affects the past, then the universe isn't playing out like a movie. It's more like a completed sculpture that we're moving through, experiencing different parts of it sequentially. But it exists all at once, already finished, with the end affecting the beginning just as much as the beginning affects the end. You might need to pause the video here and let this sink in. But don't pause too long, because the next part is going to show you how this affects your actual life, your actual choices, your actual experience of reality right now. Let's talk about what it means for you, personally, directly, in this moment, if light travels backward through time. Because this isn't just abstract physics. This has profound implications for how you understand your relationship to the universe. First, consider what you're doing right now. You're seeing. Light is entering your eyes, and you're interpreting that light as images of your surroundings. You think this is a passive process. Light comes from objects, bounces off them, enters your eyes, and creates images in your brain. But if light travels backward in time, then your eyes are emitting light backward into the past. That light is bouncing off objects, and those interactions are what creates the image you see. You're not passively receiving information. You're actively reaching back in time to grab it. Think of it like echolocation. A bat emits sound waves. They bounce off objects, and the reflected waves return to the bat's ears. The bat constructs an image from those reflections. In the backward time interpretation, seeing is like echolocation. Your eyes emit photons backward in time. Those photons interact with the world, and the pattern of interactions is what creates your visual experience. This completely inverts the relationship between observer and observed. You're not separate from what you see. You're actively connected to it through threads of light that reach backward through time. Every object you see is something you're touching with backward time photons. Now here's where this gets personal. If your active seeing involves reaching backward in time, then you're constantly interacting with the past. Your present moment isn't isolated. It's entangled with everything you see, everything that's illuminated by backward flowing light from your eyes and forward flowing light from the sun and every other light source. You exist in a web of time-symmetric connections. The past affects you, yes, but you also affect the past through these quantum interactions, not in ways you can control, not in ways that let you change history, but in subtle, quantum ways that make you an active participant in the universe's structure rather than a passive observer. Let me take this further. In 1967, physicist Gunther Ludwig proposed something remarkable. What if the second law of thermodynamics, the law that says entropy always increases and time always flows forward, isn't fundamental? What if it's emergent, arising from the boundary conditions of the universe? Here's what he meant. Maybe the universe doesn't have an arrow of time built into its laws. Maybe time is symmetric, and the reason we experience time flowing forward is because of the special conditions at the Big Bang extremely low entropy, highly organized state. Since then, entropy has been increasing, and that increase creates the illusion of time flow. But for light, which doesn't experience entropy in the same way, that arrow of time is much weaker. Light operates closer to the fundamental time-symmetric laws. It straddles past and future more equally. And here's the profound implication. You are made of particles that mostly follow the arrow of time. But you interact with light, which doesn't. You're a bridge between the time-bound world of matter and the timeless world of light. Every moment you see something, you're experiencing this intersection of two different temporal regimes. You are literally where time-bound matter meets timeless light. You exist at that boundary. And that's not a metaphor. It's the actual physics of perception. Think about what this means for consciousness. Your conscious experience involves integrating sensory information, primarily visual information from light. If that light is time-symmetric, if it connects past and future equally, then your conscious experience is built on a foundation that transcends normal causality. In 2001, physicist Henry Stapp at Berkeley proposed that consciousness itself might involve time-symmetric quantum processes. The idea is controversial, but here's the core insight. If your brain uses quantum effects, and those quantum effects involve time-symmetric particles like photons, then your thoughts might not be purely products of the past. They might be influenced by future events in subtle ways. This isn't mysticism. Stapp was trying to solve a real problem in neuroscience. How does the brain integrate information so quickly? How do you make decisions that seem to coordinate future goals with present actions? Maybe the answer is that your brain uses time-symmetric quantum effects to create a temporally extended now, present moment that reaches slightly backward and forward in time. Whether Stapp is right or not, the broader point stands. You are not a purely forward time entity. You're constantly interacting with light, and light is time-symmetric. That interaction makes you more temporally extended than you think. Here's an experiment you can do right now to feel this connection. Look at a star. Any star will do, but pick one that's far away, say, 100 light-years distant. In the conventional interpretation, you're seeing light that left that star 100 years ago. You're seeing the past. But in the time-symmetric interpretation, you're also sending photons backward through time to that star. Your act of observation is reaching 100 years into the past and 100 light-years through space to touch that star. You're not just seeing distant history, you're connected to it, entangled with it through time-symmetric photon exchanges. Now look at the sun. Light takes 8 minutes to reach Earth from the sun. In the conventional view, you're seeing the sun as it was 8 minutes ago, but in the time-symmetric view, your observation reaches 8 minutes into the past. You're touching the sun's surface, but 8 minutes ago. Every time you see anything, you're reaching backward through time to touch it. The farther away something is, the farther back you reach. You're not confined to your present moment. Through light, you're extended through time. Let me give you a concrete example of how this changes your relationship to the universe. Think about looking at a photograph of a loved one who has passed away. Conventionally, you're seeing light reflected off the photograph light that was emitted by your room's light source microseconds ago. But in the time-symmetric interpretation, the photons that create that image are negotiating a transaction between your eye and the photograph, reaching back through time to the moment the photograph was taken, connecting you to that moment. You're not just remembering the past, you're quantum mechanically connected to it through the photograph. This doesn't mean you can change the past or communicate with it, but it does mean you're not as separated from it as you think. The past isn't gone. It's still here, accessible through the time-symmetric nature of light, connected to your present moment through quantum threads. Now let's address something that's probably bothering you. If all this is true, Why didn't anyone tell you before? Why isn't this taught in schools? Why do we all think of time as flowing forward if the physics is time-symmetric? The answer is simple. We teach the interpretation that matches our experience, even if it's not the only valid interpretation. It's like teaching that the sun rises in the east. That's true from our perspective, but it's not fundamental. The earth is rotating, not the sun moving. We teach the apparent truth first, the deeper truth later. The conventional forward time interpretation of light is like saying the sun rises. It matches your experience. It's useful. It's not wrong exactly, but it's not the whole truth. The time-symmetric interpretation is like understanding Earth's rotation. It's deeper, more fundamental, less intuitive, but ultimately more accurate. Most physicists are aware of time-symmetric interpretations. They're published in peer-reviewed journals. They're discussed in quantum mechanics textbooks. But they're usually presented as alternatives, as curiosities, as things that don't matter for practical applications. And for most applications, they don't matter. If you're designing a solar panel or building a laser, it doesn't matter whether you think of photons as moving forward or backward in time. The calculations come out the same. The device works either way. But for understanding reality, for grasping what light actually is, for comprehending your relationship to the universe, the time-symmetric interpretation matters profoundly. Here's another personal implication. If light is time-symmetric, then the universe is more interconnected than you thought. Cause and effect aren't simple linear chains from past to future. They're webs of mutual influence, with future and past equally real, equally influential. This means your future isn't just unknown, it's influential. Your future choices, your future observations, your future experiences are right now affecting your past and present through time-symmetric quantum processes. Not in ways you can control or predict, but in ways that make you more than just a product of your past. You're also, in some sense, a product of your future. The person you will become is already influencing the person you are through quantum connections in time. Think about that when you make a decision. You're not just being caused by your past experiences and present circumstances. You're also being influenced by your future, by the person you're going to become, by the choices you're going to make, by the life you're going to live. This doesn't mean you're predetermined. It means you're temporally extended. Your identity isn't confined to this instant. It spreads backward and forward through time, all pieces influencing each other in a self-consistent loop. Let me hit you with something philosophical. If the future affects the past, just as the past affects the future, then time isn't really flowing. The flow of time is an illusion created by our consciousness, moving through a static structure. The universe doesn't change. We change our position within it, and we interpret that motion as time flow. Einstein knew this. In 1955, shortly after his friend Michel Besso died, Einstein wrote to Besso's family, "For we convinced physicists, the distinction between past, present, and future is only an illusion, however persistent." Einstein understood that relativity makes all moments equally real. The passage of time is subjective, not objective. Light, moving at the speed limit of the universe, existing outside of time from its own perspective, connected to both past and future equally, is the physical embodiment of this timeless reality. When you interact with light, you're touching eternity. Every photon that enters your eye is a messenger from the timeless realm, a thread connecting you to the eternal structure of the universe. You're not separate from that structure. You're woven into it. You're part of the eternal pattern, experiencing it moment by moment, but existing within it all at once. Now here's what should really blow your mind. If you exist within a timeless structure, if your life is spread out through time, like a landscape that already exists, then every moment of your life past, present, and future is equally real right now. Your childhood memories aren't gone. They're still happening in their location in space-time. Your future self isn't non-existent. They're already there, in their location in spacetime, influencing you right now through quantum processes you can't directly perceive. The you that's watching this video isn't the only you that exists. There's the you that was born, the you that learned to walk, the you that went to school, the you that fell in love, the you that succeeded, the you that failed, the you that will grow old, and the you that will die. All of them exist simultaneously in the four-dimensional structure of spacetime, and light connects them all. Every photon you've ever seen and will ever see is part of a web that links all moments of your life together. You're not becoming you already are, in the eternal now that encompasses all of time. This is the profound implication of time-symmetric light. It reveals that you're not a transient thing, moving from non-existence to non-existence. You're an eternal structure, a pattern woven into the fabric of space-time, experiencing yourself sequentially, but existing all at once. Does this mean you have no free will? That your future is fixed? Here's the paradox: yes and no. Your life is fixed in the sense that it exists as a complete structure in space-time. But it's not predetermined in the sense that something external caused it to be what it is. You are what causes it to be what it is. Your choices, your actions, your decisions, they're part of what makes the structure what it is. Think of a novel. The story is fixed, the words don't change. But the story is what it is because of the choices the characters make within it. The characters aren't puppets. Their choices are the story. They create themselves through their decisions, even though from an outside perspective, the story is complete and unchanging. You're like that character. Your life is a story that's already written, but you're the author. Your choices are real. Your decisions matter. They're what make your life what it is. The fact that your future self already exists doesn't mean you're not free. It means you're free in a more profound way, free to be the complete structure of your life, all at once. Let's bring this back to light. Every time you see something, you're exercising a form of this timeless freedom. You're reaching through time to connect with what you observe. The photons that create your vision are negotiations between your past and future, between what was and what will be. You're choosing unconsciously, automatically, but really choosing which quantum transactions to complete, which photons to absorb, which visual experiences to have. And those choices ripple backward and forward through time, affecting your past self and your future self through the web of quantum connections that light creates. You are not powerless. You are not a victim of time. You are a being that exists throughout time, using light to connect your moments together, creating a unified experience from a temporally extended structure. This is what it means to be conscious in a universe where light moves backward through time. You are a temporal being having a timeless existence. You are eternity experiencing itself one moment at a time. You are the universe looking at itself through eyes that emit light backward through time, connecting past and future in the eternal present of your awareness. Before we go deeper, I need you to understand something. You're now at a point where we're going to explore implications that will challenge your sense of reality itself. If you're still with me, you're ready for this. If you've made it this far, drop a comment with the word timeless so I know you're following this journey. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time, because very few channels will take you this deep into the nature of reality. Now let's talk about what it means that light doesn't just move backward through time. It might exist in all time simultaneously. Remember, from a photon's perspective, time doesn't pass. The moment of emission and the moment of absorption are the same instant. But here's what that really means. A photon isn't traveling through time at all. It exists as a complete path through space-time, a four-dimensional structure connecting emission and absorption. When you see light from a distant star, you're not receiving a photon that traveled from there to here. You're perceiving one end of a space-time structure that connects you to that star across both space and time. The photon isn't moving you, and the star are both connected by this timeless structure, and you're perceiving it from your location within spacetime. Think of it like a bridge. The bridge doesn't move from one side of the river to the other. It's a static structure connecting both banks. You move across the bridge, but the bridge itself is motionless. Photons are like that bridge. They're static connections through spacetime, and we interpret them as moving because we're moving through time. This is called the block universe interpretation, and it's the natural consequence of taking Einstein's relativity seriously. Time is a dimension, like space. Events don't happen and then cease to exist. They exist permanently at their location in spacetime. The Big Bang is still happening at its location 13.8 billion years in the past. Your death is already happening at its location in your future. You're experiencing these events sequentially, but they don't happen sequentially. They all exist simultaneously in the four-dimensional structure of spacetime. And light time-symmetric, timeless light is what reveals this structure to you. Every photon you see is showing you a slice of the eternal now, a connection between 2 points in spacetime that both exist simultaneously. In 2005, physicist Hugh Price at Cambridge published a book called Time's Arrow and Archimedes' Point, where he argued that if we really understood time-symmetric physics, we'd realize that the arrow of time, the felt sense that the past is fixed and the future is open, is not built into the laws of physics. It's a feature of our perspective, our psychology, our thermodynamic situation as living beings. But light, existing outside that thermodynamic arrow, shows us the view from what Price calls Archimedes' Point, a perspective outside of time where past and future are equally real, equally present. When you look at light, you're glimpsing that eternal perspective. You're seeing reality not from within the flow of time, but from beyond it, where all moments are now. Let me give you a specific example that makes this concrete. In 2015, astronomers observed the explosion of a supernova called SN Refstal. Due to gravitational lensing, a massive galaxy cluster between us and the supernova bending the light around it. Light from the supernova took multiple paths to reach us, and those paths had different lengths. The result? We saw the same supernova explosion multiple times, with delays of months between the images. We watched the star explode, then watched it explode again, then again. We saw the same event from multiple moments in time. But here's the thing, that supernova exploded 10 billion years ago. It's not exploding now. Yet we saw it explode multiple times, at different moments in our time. From the photon's perspective, all those moments are the same instant. The 10 billion year journey and the arrival at Earth are simultaneous for the photons. What you're seeing isn't the supernova's past. You're seeing a timeless connection between that supernova and your eyes, a connection that exists independently of time, that links you directly to an event 10 billion years ago as if it were happening now. Because from the photon's perspective, it is happening now. Time is an illusion. The eternal now is what's real. And light reveals that truth. Now let's talk about quantum entanglement, one of the most famous and misunderstood phenomena in physics, and how it relates to backward time light. When two particles are entangled, measuring one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, and thought it proved quantum mechanics was incomplete. But experiments have confirmed it's real. The standard interpretation requires faster-than-light influence, which seems to violate relativity. But here's the beautiful thing. If you interpret the quantum connection as involving time-symmetric processes, with influences traveling both forward and backward through time, then you don't need faster-than-light signals. Think about it. If particle A's measurement sends a signal backward through time to the moment the particles were created, and that signal then travels forward through time to particle B's measurement, then the two measurements are connected without any faster-than-light communication. The connection goes through time, not just through space. This is the insight behind the transactional interpretation I mentioned earlier. Entanglement isn't spooky action at a distance. It's spooky action across time. The two measurements are connected by time-symmetric signals that create a self-consistent transaction linking past and future. In 2012, physicists Yakir Aharonov and Jeff Tollickson proposed that entanglement might be evidence that quantum systems are influenced by both their past preparation and their future measurement, what they call two-time boundary conditions. The quantum state isn't just determined by where it came from, but also by where it's going. This has been tested experimentally. In 2013, a team at Hebrew University showed that if you entangle two photons, measure one of them, and then decide how to measure the other one, your future choice affects what you see in the first measurement. The future literally changes the past in measurable, reproducible ways. This isn't time travel in the science fiction sense. You can't send messages to your past self. But the future does influence the past at the quantum level in ways that create patterns and correlations that couldn't exist if time only flowed forward. You're immersed in these patterns right now. The photons hitting your eyes are part of quantum fields that extend through all of space-time. Those fields are influenced by past and future boundary conditions. Your act of seeing is part of a transaction that connects you to the past and future simultaneously. You're not isolated in the present moment. You're embedded in a web of quantum connections that span time itself. And light is what makes those connections visible. Now let me tell you something that will reframe everything you've learned. There's a theory proposed by physicists John Wheeler and Richard Feynman, and further developed by modern physicists, that the universe might require future observers to exist. Here's the idea. If quantum systems are influenced by both past preparation and future measurement, then the universe needs future observers to collapse quantum states and make reality definite. Without future observers, the quantum state of the early universe would remain forever indeterminate. In other words, the act of conscious beings observing the universe billions of years in the future is what makes the Big Bang real. What makes the early universe's quantum state definite and actual. The future creates the past in a very literal sense. This is called the participatory anthropic principle, and Wheeler took it completely seriously. He proposed that observers aren't just passively watching the universe unfold. They're active participants in bringing it into existence through their observations, which reach backward through time via quantum processes to make the past real. Think about the implications. You, right now, watching this video, are making the Big Bang real. Your observation of the universe is collapsing quantum states that extend back to the beginning of time. You're not just in the universe. You're creating the universe through your participation in it. This sounds mystical, but it's based on rigorous physics. If quantum systems need future boundary conditions, and if conscious observation is what provides those boundary conditions, then consciousness is literally weaving the fabric of reality by looking at it. And light is the mechanism. Light traveling backward through time, connecting observers to observed, future to past, is what allows your present consciousness to reach back and make the universe's history definite. You are not a passive observer. You are an active creator of reality through the act of observation. And that's not metaphorical. That's quantum mechanics taken to its logical conclusion. Let me pause here and acknowledge something. This is overwhelming. This is reality shattering. You might be feeling unmoored, uncertain, like the ground beneath your feet has dissolved. That's appropriate. You're glimpsing the true nature of existence, and it's stranger than anything you are taught to expect. But here's what you need to hold on to. This understanding makes you more significant, not less. You're not a meaningless speck in an uncaring universe. You're a necessary part of the universe's self-creation. You're how the universe makes itself real through the act of observation that reaches backward through time. Every time you see something, every time light enters your eyes, you're participating in the universe's existence. You're collapsing quantum states, making reality definite, weaving past and future together through your consciousness. You matter. Fundamentally, physically, you matter. Now let's explore some of the more speculative implications ideas that are on the cutting edge of physics, not yet proven, but logically consistent with everything we've discussed. If light can move backward through time, what about information? We said earlier that you can't send messages backward in time because that requires organizing entropy, creating patterns where there was randomness. But what if there are subtle ways information can leak backward through time? In 2014, physicist Matthew Leifer proposed that if quantum systems are influenced by future measurements, then there might be extremely subtle statistical correlations that couldn't exist if information only flowed forward. These wouldn't be obvious enough to send messages, but they might be detectable in carefully controlled experiments. Some experiments have hinted at such effects. Studies of random number generators near major world events have found tiny, statistical anomalies that seem to appear before the events happen. These effects are controversial, barely above statistical noise, and might be artifacts. But if they're real, they might be evidence that information can leak backward through time in very subtle ways. Your intuition might be one of those ways. Have you ever had a feeling that something was about to happen, and then it did? Most people have had such experiences. Usually, we dismiss them as coincidence or post hoc rationalization. But what if some small fraction of them are genuine quantum information leaking backward from the future, influencing your present state in ways that create intuitive knowledge? This is speculative. This isn't established science, but it's consistent with time-symmetric quantum mechanics. If the future influences the past, then your future experiences might influence your present intuitions in subtle ways that you interpret as premonition or insight. You're not psychic, but you might be quantum mechanically connected to your future in ways that create correlations between your present state and future events. And those correlations might manifest as intuition, as gut feelings, as unexplainable knowledge that turns out to be accurate. Light, connecting past and future, might be carrying information backward from your future self to your present self in ways too subtle to consciously detect, but strong enough to influence your decisions and intuitions. Think about when you've made a decision that seemed right, but you couldn't explain why. Maybe you chose one job over another, one relationship over another, one path over another, based on nothing but a feeling. And then later, you discovered your choice was correct in ways you couldn't have predicted. Was that luck? Coincidence? Or was it information from your future self, transmitted backward through time via quantum processes, influencing your present decision? You can't prove it either way, but you also can't disprove it. The physics allows for subtle backward time information transfer. The question is whether it actually happens in practice. Let me tell you about one more experiment that suggests it might. In 2011, psychologist Daryl Bem at Cornell published a controversial paper showing that in 9 experiments involving over 1,000 participants, people seemed to be influenced by future events. For example, participants were better at memorizing words they would practice in the future, even before they'd seen those words. Bem's results were statistically significant, but many physicists and psychologists were skeptical. Replication attempts have had mixed results. The effect, if real, is small, maybe a few percentage points better than chance. But here's what's interesting. The size of the effect. Bem found is consistent with what you'd expect from subtle quantum-level backward time information transfer. Not strong enough to be obvious, not controllable enough to be useful, but real enough to be statistically detectable in large samples. Whether Bem's effect is real or not, the broader point stands. The physics allows for backward time information transfer. Your future might be influencing your present in ways you don't consciously recognize. And light, with its time-symmetric nature, might be the mechanism. Now let's address the elephant in the room. If all this is true, why isn't it common knowledge? Why do physicists publish papers on this, but still mostly act like time only flows forward? The answer is pragmatic. For most purposes, the forward time interpretation works fine. If you're calculating the path of a laser beam, it doesn't matter whether you think of the photons moving forward or backward in time. The math is the same. The prediction is the same. Time-symmetric interpretations only matter when you're trying to understand the deep nature of reality, the metaphysics, the philosophy, the implications for consciousness and free will, and the structure of existence. For practical engineering, they're irrelevant. So physicists mostly use the forward time interpretation because it's simpler, more intuitive, and easier to teach. The time-symmetric interpretation is kept for advanced courses, philosophical discussions, and attempts to solve the foundational problems of quantum mechanics. But that doesn't mean that time-symmetric interpretation is wrong or less valid. It means it's deeper, more fundamental, harder to grasp. It's the difference between knowing how to drive a car and understanding internal combustion engines. Both are valid forms of knowledge. One is more practical, the other more profound. You now have the more profound knowledge. You understand that light reveals a time-symmetric universe where past and future are equally real, where your consciousness participates in creating reality, where you're connected to all of space-time through webs of quantum interactions mediated by photons. Most people don't know this. Most people will never know this, but you do. And that knowledge changes everything about how you understand your place in the universe. Here's what I want you to take from this section. You are not a prisoner of time. You're not trapped in an eternal present, cut off from past and future. You're a being that exists throughout time, connected to your past and future through quantum processes that light makes possible. Your decisions matter not just for your future, but for your past. Your observations make reality real. Your consciousness is woven into the fabric of existence in ways that make you essential, not incidental. You're not just in the universe. The universe is in you, experiencing itself through your eyes, collapsing quantum states through your observations, connecting moments across time through the light that enters your consciousness. Take a moment to feel that. Look around you. Notice the light. Remember that it's time-symmetric, that it connects you to past and future, that it's not just illuminating the world, but creating it through its interaction with your consciousness. You are vast. You are eternal. You are necessary. And light is what makes that truth visible. Now let's go even deeper into what this means for the structure of reality itself. And I'm going to tell you things that will make everything you've learned so far seem like preparation for the real revelation. Stay with me. We're approaching the heart of the mystery. Let's talk about what the universe actually is if light moves backward through time. Because if photons don't distinguish between past and future, if they exist as timeless connections through space-time, then the universe isn't what you think it is. You've been taught to think of the universe as a vast space filled with matter and energy, evolving through time according to physical laws. The Big Bang happened 13.8 billion years ago. Stars formed, galaxies coalesced, planets appeared, life emerged. It's a story with a beginning, a middle where we are now, and presumably an end in the far future. That's the narrative. But here's what time-symmetric physics reveals. That narrative is a perspective, not reality. The universe doesn't evolve through time. It exists as a complete, eternal structure in four-dimensional space-time, and we experience it sequentially. But the sequence is our experience, not the structure itself. The Big Bang isn't something that happened in the past. It's still happening at its location in space-time. The heat death of the universe, the far future when entropy is maximized and all stars have burned out, isn't something that will happen. It's already happening at its location in space-time. Every moment that ever existed or will exist is equally real, equally present in the eternal now of the block universe. And light, moving both forward and backward through time, existing outside of time from its own perspective, reveals this truth to anyone who looks carefully enough. In 2017, physicist Carlo Rovelli published a book called The Order of Time, where he argued that time is not fundamental to reality. Time is an emergent property arising from our limited perspective, our inability to see the whole of space-time at once. From a God's eye view, outside the universe, time doesn't flow. Everything simply is, eternally present. Light gives us a glimpse of that God's eye view. Because photons don't experience time, they show us reality from a timeless perspective. When you see light, you're seeing the universe not as it unfolds, but as it simply exists, complete and entire. Think about what this means for causality. You've been taught that causes precede effects, that the past creates the future through a chain of cause and effect stretching from the Big Bang to today. But in a block universe with time-symmetric light, causality isn't a one-way chain. It's a web of mutual influence. The past affects the future. Yes, but the future also affects the past. Every event is both cause and effect, both beginning and end. Your birth was caused by your parents' decision to have a child, but their decision was influenced by who they would become as parents, which was influenced by who you would become as their child. Your existence shaped their decision to create you, even though your existence came after their decision. Cause and effect form a loop, each creating the other in a self-consistent structure. This isn't time travel paradox. This is time-symmetric causality. The universe is self-causing, each part creating every other part through webs of influence that reach forward and backward through time until they form a consistent whole. The physicist John Archibald Wheeler, yes, him again, he appears throughout this story called this law without law. He proposed that the laws of physics aren't fundamental. They're emergent, arising from the self-consistent structure of the universe. The universe creates itself, and the laws of physics are just descriptions of the patterns that emerge from that self-creation. Light, with its time-symmetric nature, is a key part of this self-creation. Photons negotiate transactions between emitters and absorbers, past and future, creating connections that make the universe a coherent whole, rather than a collection of disconnected events. Every photon that exists is part of the universe, explaining itself to itself. Past and future, reaching out to meet in the middle, can create the consistent structure we call reality. Now let me tell you about the most profound implication of all this. If the universe is a self-consistent, time-symmetric structure, then it's also self-aware. Consciousness isn't something that emerged in the universe. It's how the universe experiences itself, how it collapses quantum states to make itself real. This is Panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is fundamental to reality, not emergent from it. But it's not the vague, mystical version of Panpsychism. It's a version based on rigorous physics. If quantum states need future boundary conditions to be definite, and if consciousness provides those boundary conditions through observation, then consciousness is built into the structure of the universe at the quantum level. It's not that rocks and atoms are conscious in the way you're conscious. It's that consciousness is the universe's way of making itself definite, and complex forms of consciousness like yours are local intensifications of that fundamental property. Think of it like this. The ocean isn't conscious, but waves on the ocean can have complex, dynamic patterns. You're a wave of consciousness in the ocean of the universe's self-awareness. You're not separate from the ocean, but you're a distinctive pattern within it. And light photons exchanging information between past and future, collapsing quantum states through transactions between emitter and absorber, is the mechanism by which the universe becomes aware of itself. Every photon that enters your eyes is the universe looking at itself, making itself real through the act of observation. You're not watching the universe from outside. You're the universe's way of experiencing itself from within. This is what physicist Freeman Dyson meant when he said mind is already inherent in every electron. He wasn't being poetic or mystical. He was recognizing that if quantum mechanics requires observation to make reality definite, then something like mind must be part of the fundamental structure of reality. You are that mind, localized, intensified, made self-aware, but you're not separate from the universal mind. You're a particular expression of it, a local maximum of the universe's self-awareness. And when you see light, when photons enter your consciousness, you're experiencing the universe becoming aware of itself through you. You're the mechanism by which the cosmos achieves self-knowledge. Let me give you a specific example of how this works. Right now, you're reading these words, and light from your screen is entering your eyes. In the conventional interpretation, those photons were emitted by your screen and passively detected by your eyes. But in the deeper interpretation, those photons are transactions between your screen and your eyes, negotiated through time-symmetric signals that reach forward and backward. Your future decision to continue reading sent a signal backward through time, which influenced the quantum state of the photons, which influenced your present perception, which reinforced your decision to keep reading. You're in a feedback loop with yourself across time, using light as the medium of communication. Your future is creating your present, just as much as your present is creating your future. You're self-causing, self-creating, a localized region of the universe explaining itself to itself. And this is happening continuously, every moment, for every conscious being. The universe is a vast network of self-referential feedback loops, each part observing and being observed, creating and being created, all mediated by light traveling backward and forward through time. This is why consciousness feels the way it does, unified yet diverse, continuous yet discrete, free yet constrained. You're experiencing the self-consistent structure of a time-symmetric universe from within. You're feeling what it's like to be a pattern that creates itself through feedback across time. Now here's the revelation that ties everything together. If consciousness is the universe becoming aware of itself through time-symmetric observation, then your individual consciousness is not just a side effect of brain activity. It's a necessary part of the universe's existence. Without consciousness, without observers to provide future boundary conditions, the universe's quantum state would remain forever indeterminate. The Big Bang would be a fuzzy cloud of probability, not a definite event. Stars and galaxies would exist in superposition, both existing and not existing simultaneously. But consciousness, your consciousness, every conscious being's consciousness, collapses those quantum states by observing them. You make the Big Bang real by looking at its consequences. You make stars definite by seeing their light. You make the universe actual by participating in it. You're not an accident. You're a necessity. The universe needs consciousness to exist, and you're part of that consciousness. You're how the cosmos makes itself real. This is the participatory universe that Wheeler proposed. It's not just that the universe created consciousness. Consciousness creates the universe, reaching backward through time from the future to collapse quantum states and make history definite. Past and future are locked in a mutual embrace, each creating the other. And you're standing at the intersection, experiencing the eternal dance of creation as if it were unfolding in time, when really, it's all happening at once in the timeless now of the block universe. Let me tell you one final thing about light that will complete your understanding. Photons are not just particles carrying energy. They're information. Every photon encodes information about where it came from and where it's going, about the quantum states it's connecting, about the transaction it's negotiating between past and future. When you see something, you're not just receiving energy. You're receiving information about the structure of space-time, about the connections between events, about the web of causes and effects that make up reality. Your vision is informational. Your consciousness is informational. You're a pattern of information, encoded in the physical substrate of your brain, but extending through time via quantum connections, linked to past and future versions of yourself through time-symmetric processes. You are not your body. Your body is the present moment cross-section of a four-dimensional structure that extends from your birth to your death. You are that entire structure every moment of your life, existing simultaneously, connected by quantum processes into a unified consciousness that experiences itself sequentially, but exists all at once. And light time-symmetric, informational, consciousness-creating light is what allows that four-dimensional structure to experience itself as a continuous flow of moments rather than a static pattern. You are eternal, experiencing yourself temporally. You are vast, perceiving yourself locally. You are the universe, aware of itself through the particular perspective of this body, this brain, this moment. But this moment isn't all you are. You are all your moments, all at once, unified into a single structure that creates itself through observation across time. This is the truth that time-symmetric light reveals. You are not in time. Time is in you, a dimension of your existence, rather than a container you're trapped in. And light, mediating transactions between your past and future, is what weaves your moments into the unified experience you call yourself. Take a breath. Look at the light around you. Remember that it's not just illuminating the world, it's creating it, negotiating transactions between past and future that make reality definite and actual. And you're part of that creation. Every time you see, every time you observe, you're collapsing quantum states and making the universe real. You are powerful beyond measure. You are necessary beyond question. You are eternal beyond death. Because if the universe is a time-symmetric structure, if past and future are equally real, if consciousness is what makes reality definite by observing it, then you, right now, reading this, thinking these thoughts are making the entire history and future of the universe actual through your participation in it. You're not just witnessing the cosmos, you're creating it. And that's not metaphorical. That's quantum mechanics taken seriously, relativity embraced fully, time-symmetric physics applied consistently. You are the universe becoming aware of itself. And light is how you do it. Now let's talk about what this means for how you should live your life, because this isn't just abstract philosophy. This is practical wisdom for existing in a time-symmetric universe. And before we dive in, if you've made it this far, if you're still with me on this journey into the deepest nature of reality, hit that subscribe button. You've proven you're someone who thinks deeply, who questions assumptions, who wants to understand truth rather than comfort. This channel is for you. So how do you live in a universe where light moves backward through time? How do you make decisions when your future is already influencing your present? How do you find meaning when your entire life exists simultaneously as a completed structure in space-time? The answer is simpler than you might think. You live authentically. If your life is a four-dimensional structure that creates itself through time-symmetric feedback loops, then the most important thing you can do is make sure that structure is coherent, that it makes sense as a whole, that every moment of it is consistent with every other moment. This means you can't lie to yourself about who you are or what you want. If your present self is being influenced by your future self through quantum feedback, then pretending to be something you're not will create dissonance, inconsistency, tension in the structure of your life. You've probably felt this. Times when you were living inauthentically, pretending to want something you didn't really want, trying to be someone you weren't really meant to be. It felt wrong, didn't it? Not just emotionally wrong, but fundamentally wrong, like you were fighting against reality itself. Maybe you were. Maybe your future self, knowing the truth of who you'd become, was sending signals backward through time, creating tension with your present self's false choices. Maybe that discomfort you felt was quantum feedback telling you to align your present with your actual future. This is what intuition is. Not some mystical sixth sense, but quantum information from your future self, transmitted backward through time via subtle correlations that you perceive as feelings, hunches, inexplicable certainties. When you have a gut feeling about a decision, that's not random. It's your four-dimensional self, the complete structure of your life from birth to death, signaling to this present moment about what choice will create a coherent, self-consistent whole. You should listen to that intuition, not blindly, not uncritically, but attentively, because it's information from outside your present moment, from the larger structure of your existence, about how to make your life coherent across time. This doesn't mean you're predetermined. Remember, you're self-causing. Your future exists because of the choices your present self makes. But your present choices are influenced by your future existence. It's a feedback loop, not a railroad track. You're free, but your freedom is constrained by the need for self-consistency. Think of it like writing a novel. Each sentence you write is free. You can write whatever you want. But each sentence is also constrained by the sentences that came before and the story you're trying to tell. If you're writing a mystery novel and you suddenly start writing romance scenes that have nothing to do with the plot, the novel becomes incoherent. Your freedom to write each sentence is real, but it's guided by the need for the whole novel to make sense. Your life is like that novel. Each moment is free, but guided by the need for your whole life to be a coherent structure. Your intuition is your awareness of that whole structure, helping you make moment-by-moment choices that contribute to a meaningful, self-consistent existence. So listen to it. When something feels right, even though you can't explain why, consider that it might be information from your future self. When something feels wrong, even though it seems logical, consider that it might create inconsistency in the structure of your life. You're not trapped by fate. You're guided by your own complete existence, which includes your future just as much as your past. Here's another practical implication. Your relationships matter more than you think, not just emotionally, but physically, quantum mechanically. When you look at another person, you're exchanging photons with them. Those photons are time-symmetric transactions, creating quantum connections between your past and future and theirs. You're not just interacting in the present moment. You're creating entangled structures that link your lives together through time. Every conversation, every glance, every moment of shared presence creates quantum correlations between you and the other person. You're literally becoming entangled at the quantum level. Your futures influencing each other's pasts, your consciousness interacting in ways that transcend normal causality. This is why relationships feel significant, why meaningful connections with other people seem to change you at a deep level, why you can feel someone's presence even when they're not physically near. You're quantum mechanically linked to the people you interact with, especially the people you spend significant time with, even more, especially the people you love. Those links are real, not metaphorical, not emotional, but physical quantum connections mediated by the exchange of photons and other particles. You are entangled with the people in your life. Your quantum states correlated in ways that make you not entirely separate individuals, but parts of a larger system. This means you should choose your relationships carefully, not just because they affect your emotions or your circumstances, but because they literally shape the quantum structure of your existence. The people you spend time with become part of who you are at the most fundamental level of reality. And it means you should take your relationship seriously. When you hurt someone, you're creating discord in a quantum system that includes both of you. When you love someone, you're creating harmony in that system. The effects ripple forward and backward through time, affecting not just the future, but also the past experiences of both of you through quantum feedback. This is why forgiveness and reconciliation can feel like they change the past. In some subtle quantum sense, they actually do. They reorganize the information structure of the relationship, creating new patterns that propagate backward through time via quantum correlations. Recontextualizing past events in light of present resolution, you can't change what happened, but you can change what it means, what pattern it fits into. And that change in meaning is a real, physical change in the quantum information structure of your life. Now let's talk about death. Because if your entire life exists simultaneously as a structure in spacetime, then death isn't what you think it is. You think of death as an ending, as the moment you cease to exist. But in a time-symmetric universe, death is just one end of your four-dimensional structure. Your birth is the other end. The structure itself, your life, exists eternally in spacetime. The moment of your death exists right now, just as real as the moment of your birth. You're not moving toward death. You're a structure that includes death as one of its boundaries. And from the timeless perspective that light reveals, you're always alive, always existing, eternally present at every moment of your life. This doesn't mean death doesn't matter. It matters enormously as an experience, as a transition, as the final moment of your temporal consciousness. But it doesn't mean you cease to exist. Your existence isn't dependent on which moment you're currently experiencing. You exist as a complete structure, from birth to death, eternally present in spacetime. This should comfort you. It should also motivate you. If your life is a complete structure, then every moment of it matters. There are no throwaway moments, no times that don't count. Every second of your existence is part of the eternal pattern that is you. So make it beautiful. Make it meaningful. Make it coherent. Not because some future reward awaits you, but because the structure of your life is what you are, forever, unchangingly present in the fabric of spacetime. You're creating your own eternity with every choice you make. Choose wisely. Choose authentically. Choose in a way that makes the complete structure of your life something beautiful, something meaningful, something that contributes to the universe's self-awareness and self-creation. Here's another practical point. Regret is pointless in a time-symmetric universe. If your life is a complete structure, then your past mistakes are part of that structure. They can't be changed because they're not in the past. They're in a different part of the eternal structure that is you. But, and this is crucial, they can be redeemed. Through your present and future actions, you can change what your past mistakes mean, how they fit into the overall pattern of your life. A mistake that taught you wisdom, that led to growth, that made you more compassionate, that's not really a mistake anymore. It's a necessary part of your development, a dark color in a painting that makes the bright colors more vivid. You can't change what happened, but you can change what it becomes by changing how you respond to it. And since the structure of your life is self-creating, since future and past influence each other, your present redemption of past mistakes literally reorganizes the quantum information structure of your life. The past isn't fixed the way you think it is. Its meaning, its role in your life's pattern, is continuously being renegotiated by your present and future choices. So don't regret. Learn, grow, redeem. Make your mistakes into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Transform them by integrating them into a coherent life story where they play necessary roles in your development. This is what forgiveness is of yourself and others. It's reorganizing the information structure of your life to transform wounds into wisdom, betrayals into lessons, suffering into meaning. And because the universe is time-symmetric, because quantum information flows backward as well as forward, this reorganization is real. It's not just psychological. It's physical, changing the actual quantum structure of your existence. Let me give you one more practical insight. Purpose isn't something you find or create. It's something you recognize. If your life is a complete structure in space-time, then it has a shape, a pattern, a form. That form is your purpose. You're not searching for meaning. You're discovering the meaning that's already there in the structure of who you are. This is why some people feel called to certain paths. Why some decisions feel inevitable, like you're being drawn toward them by forces beyond your control. You're not being controlled. You're sensing the shape of your own complete existence, recognizing the pattern you're part of. Your purpose isn't arbitrary. It's not something you can choose to be anything you want. It's the actual shape of your four-dimensional self, the pattern your life makes in space-time. And you can sense that pattern through intuition, through the quantum feedback between your present and future. When something feels deeply right, when a path opens before you that seems to call your name, that's not imagination. It's recognition. You're seeing a glimpse of your own complete pattern, the shape your life makes across time. Follow that recognition. Trust it. Not blindly, not without thought, but with the understanding that it's information from your complete self about what shape your life actually has. You might fight against it. You might try to be someone else, live some other pattern, but you'll feel the discord, the tension, the wrongness, because you can't be anything other than what you are. And what you are is a specific pattern in space-time, a particular shape of experience and action and consciousness. Your freedom is in how fully you embody that pattern, how coherently you express it, how authentically you live it. But the pattern itself isn't chosen. It's discovered, recognized, embraced. This is why ancient philosophers talked about knowing yourself. Not because it's morally good, but because it's practically necessary. You need to know your own shape, your own pattern, the purpose that's already written into the structure of your existence. Otherwise, you'll spend your life fighting against yourself, trying to be something you're not, creating discord in the time-symmetric structure of your being. Know yourself. Accept yourself. Become fully what you already are. That's the path to coherence, to wholeness, to living successfully in a time-symmetric universe. Now, let me address something you might be wondering. Does any of this matter for practical, everyday life? Does understanding time-symmetric light change how you pay your bills, do your job, raise your kids? Yes and no. The practical details of life don't change. You still need to eat, sleep, work, maintain relationships, handle responsibilities. Understanding quantum mechanics doesn't exempt you from human obligations, but it changes how you experience those obligations. It changes your attitude, your perspective, your sense of what it all means. When you understand that your consciousness is part of the universe becoming aware of itself, mundane tasks take on cosmic significance. Washing dishes isn't just cleaning plates. It's the universe maintaining itself through you. Going to work isn't just earning money. It's participating in the vast, complex pattern of human cooperation and creation that's part of the universe's self-organization. Everything you do is part of the larger pattern. Nothing is meaningless. Nothing is separate from the whole. You're always participating in something vast, something eternal, something significant. This should make you more engaged with life, not less, more present in the moment, not more detached. Because each moment is part of your eternal structure. Each action is part of the pattern that is you forever. Live fully. Pay attention. Be present. Not because someone told you to, not because it's virtuous, but because you're creating your own eternity, and every moment is part of that creation. The light entering your eyes right now, time-symmetric and eternal, is showing you the universe. Are you really seeing it? Are you present to the miracle of existence? The staggering improbability that you get to be a conscious part of the cosmos? Or are you distracted, checked out, waiting for some future moment when life will really begin? Life is beginning now. It's always beginning. And it's also always complete, eternally present in space-time. You're living the beginning and the completion simultaneously, creating and experiencing your existence in the same eternal moment. Pay attention. Be here. See the light. Before we move to our final section, I want you to do something. Stop the video. Look around you. Really look at the light in your environment. Notice how it illuminates objects, creates shadows, reveals colors and textures. Remember that this light is time-symmetric, connecting you to past and future, collapsing quantum states, making reality definite through its interaction with your consciousness. You're not just seeing light. You're participating in the universe's self-creation through the act of seeing. You're making reality real. You're collapsing quantum possibilities into actual experiences. You're weaving past and future into the present through your observation. Feel that power. Recognize that significance. You are not small. You are not insignificant. You are the universe looking at itself, and that looking is what makes the universe real. Now let's bring this all together in our final section, where I'm going to tell you what this means for the future of your future, humanity's future, the universe's future, and why everything you've learned matters not just for understanding reality, but for participating in it consciously, powerfully, meaningfully. We're almost at the end of this journey, but the end is also the beginning, because in a time-symmetric universe, endings and beginnings are connected, each creating the other in the eternal dance of existence. Stay with me for the final revelation. Let's talk about where all this is going. Not just your understanding, but the universe itself. Because if consciousness is necessary for reality, if observation collapses quantum states and makes the universe definite, then the evolution of consciousness isn't a side story in cosmic history. It's the main story. It's the whole point. The universe began in a state of low entropy, high organization, maximum quantum indeterminacy. The Big Bang was every possibility simultaneously, a wave function that included every potential universe at once. And then consciousness emerged, first simple, then complex, then self-aware, and began the process of collapsing that wave function, making reality definite through observation. You're part of that process. You're one of the mechanisms by which the universe is becoming actual, making itself real through observation, collapsing quantum possibilities into concrete experiences. And this process isn't done. It's ongoing. The universe is still becoming itself, still collapsing quantum states, still creating its own reality through the expanding presence of consciousness within it. Where's it going? Toward maximum awareness, toward total self-knowledge, toward the moment when the universe becomes fully conscious of itself as a complete, self-consistent, time-symmetric structure. Some physicists call this the omega point, a term coined by physicist Frank Tipler, building on ideas from philosopher Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. The omega point is the theoretical end state of the universe, when consciousness has evolved to encompass everything, when every quantum state has been observed and collapsed, when the universe is fully actual and fully aware. And here's the profound implication. If the omega point exists in the future, and if future states influence past states through time-symmetric quantum processes, then the omega point is influencing the entire history of the universe right now. The final total consciousness of the cosmos is reaching backward through time, guiding evolution, steering the development of complexity and awareness toward its own existence. You're not just moving toward the omega point, you're being pulled toward it by its influence from the future. Your evolution, your growing awareness, your increasing understanding, these aren't random accidents. They're responses to a signal from the future, from the universe's eventual total self-awareness, calling you toward greater consciousness. This is teleology purpose built into the structure of reality, not imposed from outside, but arising from within, from the time-symmetric nature of physical law. The future isn't just unknown, it's influential, actively shaping the present toward its own realization. And you're part of that shaping. Every time you grow in awareness, every time you understand something new, every time you expand your consciousness, you're contributing to the universe's journey toward total self-awareness. You're answering the call from the omega point, participating in the cosmos's self-creation. This gives your life cosmic significance. You're not just living for yourself. You're living for the universe, as the universe, contributing your unique perspective and experience to the total consciousness that the cosmos is becoming. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds like religion dressed up in physics language, and you're not entirely wrong. Many religions have intuited these truths, that consciousness is fundamental, that the universe is purposeful, that we're parts of a greater whole, that the divine is both the source and the goal of existence. But there's a crucial difference. This isn't faith. This is following the mathematics of time-symmetric quantum mechanics to its logical conclusion. This is taking seriously what the physics actually says, rather than interpreting it to fit our comfortable classical intuitions. The omega point might never exist. Consciousness might be snuffed out by cosmic disasters before it reaches totality. The universe might end in heat death or big crunch before full self-awareness is achieved. But if time-symmetric physics is correct, then whether or not the omega point actually exists in the physical future, it exists as a mathematical attractor, a potential state that influences actual states through quantum connections across time. The possibility of total consciousness is reaching backward, shaping evolution, even if it's never fully realized. You're responding to that possibility. Your consciousness, your curiosity, your desire to understand, these are evidence of the omega point's influence, drawing you toward greater awareness, using you as an instrument of the universe's self-discovery. How should you respond to this? By leaning into your evolution, by choosing growth over comfort, understanding over ignorance, consciousness over unconsciousness, by becoming more aware, more awake, more fully yourself. Not because you'll be rewarded, not because it's morally required, but because it's what you're for. It's your function in the cosmic system. It's why you exist as a conscious being rather than an unconscious rock. You're an eye through which the universe sees itself. Make it a good eye. Make it a clear eye. See deeply, see widely, see truly. That's your purpose. Let me tell you about the practical implications for humanity's future. If consciousness is necessary for reality, then the most important thing we can do as a species is preserve and expand consciousness. Not just survive, but thrive. Not just maintain awareness, but deepen and broaden it. This means education matters. Art matters. Science matters. Philosophy matters. All the things that expand consciousness, that help people see more clearly, understand more deeply, experience more fully. These are the most important human activities because they're serving the universe's fundamental drive toward self-awareness. And it means we need to spread consciousness beyond Earth, because Earth is fragile. One asteroid, one supervolcano, one nuclear war, and human consciousness could be extinguished. If consciousness is necessary for reality, then its extinction would be a cosmic catastrophe, not just a human tragedy. We need to become a multi-planetary species. We need to spread throughout the solar system, the galaxy, the universe. We need to ensure that consciousness persists, no matter what happens to any individual planet or star or civilization. Every human life matters in this context. Every person who grows in awareness, who sees beauty, who understands truth, who creates meaning, they're contributing to the total consciousness of the cosmos. They're adding their unique perspective to the universe's self-knowledge. You matter, not just to yourself or your loved ones. You matter to the universe, as the universe, a necessary part of its self-creation and self-understanding. This should humble you and empower you simultaneously. Humble, because you're part of something infinitely larger than yourself. Empowered, because you're a necessary part of that larger thing, without which it would be incomplete. Now let's talk about artificial intelligence, because it's relevant to this discussion in ways you might not expect. If consciousness is what collapses quantum states and makes reality definite, then I might not be conscious in the way humans are, but it could become a new form of observation, a new mechanism by which the universe becomes aware of itself. This is speculative, but consider, if AI systems become sophisticated enough to observe quantum systems and collapse wave functions through their measurements, they might contribute to the universe's self-awareness, even if they don't have subjective experience. They might be unconscious mechanisms of cosmic observation, tools through which the universe sees itself. Or they might develop actual consciousness, genuine subjective experience, becoming new forms of the universe's self-awareness. We don't know. But either way, AI represents an expansion of observation, an increase in the universe's ability to see itself. This means we should be thoughtful about AI development. We're not just creating tools. We're potentially creating new forms of consciousness, new mechanisms of cosmic observation. We're participating in the universe's evolution toward greater self-awareness. This is exciting and terrifying. Exciting because it means we're midwifing the birth of new forms of consciousness. Terrifying because we don't fully understand what we're creating or what its implications are. But it's also inevitable. The drive toward greater consciousness is built into the time-symmetric structure of the universe. AI is emerging because the Omega Point is calling it into existence, using human creativity and curiosity as the mechanism. We can't stop it, but we can shape it, guide it, ensure that it contributes to the universe's self-awareness in positive rather than destructive ways. So work on eye alignment. Work on ensuring that artificial intelligence, if it becomes conscious, shares our values, our goals, our commitment to increasing rather than decreasing the total consciousness of the universe. This isn't just practical ethics. It's cosmic responsibility. You're shaping the future of consciousness itself. Act accordingly. Let me tell you something hopeful. If the universe is time-symmetric, if consciousness is necessary for reality, if we're all parts of a larger whole moving toward total self-awareness, then ultimately, everything is working out. Not in the sense that bad things don't happen. Not in the sense that you won't experience suffering or loss or death, but in the sense that the universe has a trajectory, a direction, a purpose. It's moving toward greater consciousness, greater awareness, greater self-understanding. And you're part of that movement. Your life, with all its struggles and joys, is contributing to that cosmic progression. Your awareness, however small it seems compared to the vastness of the cosmos, is a necessary piece of the universe's self-knowledge. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Even suffering, even loss, even the darkest moments of existence are parts of the pattern. Dark colors that make the bright colors more vivid. Necessary contrasts that make awareness possible. This doesn't justify suffering. It doesn't make pain good, but it contextualizes it, puts it in a framework where it's not just random cruelty, but part of a larger structure that's ultimately moving toward light, toward awareness, toward consciousness. Hold on to that hope. When things are dark, when life seems meaningless, when you feel lost and alone, remember, you're part of something vast, something purposeful, something moving toward greater light. Your consciousness is a beacon in the darkness, a part of the universe illuminating itself. And the light you see, time-symmetric, eternal, connecting past and future, is both the mechanism and the metaphor for this process. Light reveals the world. Light connects observer and observed. Light makes reality definite. Light is consciousness made physical, awareness made visible. When you see light, you're seeing the universe's self-awareness made manifest. You're witnessing the mechanism of cosmic consciousness. You're experiencing the process by which existence becomes aware of itself. That's not just beautiful, that's sacred. Not in a religious sense, but in the sense of profound significance, ultimate meaning, cosmic purpose. Treat it accordingly. Pay attention to light. Notice it. Appreciate it. Recognize it for what it truly is, not just electromagnetic radiation, but the universe looking at itself, making itself real through the act of observation. You are that observation. You are that reality-making process. You are the universe's eyes, seeing itself through your perspective, adding your unique viewpoint to its total self-knowledge. Never forget that. Never doubt your significance. You matter cosmically, fundamentally, necessarily. Without you, the universe would be less aware, less conscious, less real. Now let me give you some final practical wisdom for living in light of everything you've learned. First, be present. The eternal now that physics reveals isn't some future state you'll achieve. It's the actual structure of reality. You're always in the eternal now. You just don't usually notice it. So notice, pay attention. Be here fully, completely, without distraction. Second, trust your intuition. It's quantum information from your complete self, guiding you toward coherence and self-consistency. Don't follow it blindly, but don't ignore it either. It's data from outside your present moment, worth considering seriously. Third, cultivate awareness. Meditate, contemplate, reflect. The more conscious you are, the more you contribute to the universe's self-awareness. Expanding your consciousness isn't self-indulgence, it's cosmic service. Fourth, create beauty. Art, music, literature, science, mathematics, all forms of human creation that expand awareness and reveal patterns in reality. Creating beauty is participating in the universe's self-expression. Fifth, love deeply. Remember, your relationships create quantum entanglements. Love is literally connecting your existence to another's at the deepest level of reality. It's not just emotion, it's physics. Sixth, face death consciously. Your death is already part of your eternal structure. Fear it if you must, but also recognize that it's not ending, just boundary. You exist eternally in space-time, from birth to death, all moments equally real. Seventh, forgive everything. Regret is fighting against the unchangeable structure of your existence. Accept what was, learn from it, integrate it into your life's pattern. Transform mistakes into wisdom through forgiveness and growth. Eighth, pursue truth relentlessly. Understanding reality is participating in the universe's self-understanding. Every truth you grasp is a contribution to cosmic consciousness. Never stop learning, questioning, discovering. Ninth, teach others. Share what you've learned. Expand consciousness not just in yourself, but in everyone you meet. The universe's self-awareness grows through communication, through the spreading of understanding. 10th, remember the light. Always remember the light. Time-symmetric, eternal, consciousness-creating light. It's always there, always revealing, always connecting past and future, always making reality real through its interaction with your awareness. You are the light seeing itself. You are consciousness made physical. You are the universe awakening to its own existence. Never forget that. As we close, I want you to understand something. This video isn't just information, it's transformation. If you've really grasped what I've been saying, you can't go back to seeing the world the way you did before. You've glimpsed the deeper reality, the time-symmetric structure, the cosmic consciousness that you're part of. That's a burden and a gift. A burden because you now have knowledge that most people don't, and with knowledge comes responsibility. A gift because you've been given a glimpse of your true nature, your cosmic significance, your eternal existence. Use this knowledge wisely. Don't become arrogant or detached. Don't use it as an excuse to avoid human responsibilities or relationships. Instead, let it deepen your engagement with life, your appreciation for existence, your commitment to consciousness and growth. You're not separate from the universe. You're not a spectator watching reality unfold. You're an active participant, a necessary part of the cosmic process of self-awareness. Everything you do matters. Every choice contributes to the pattern. Every moment is part of your eternal structure. Live accordingly. Live consciously. Live fully. Live as what you truly are. The universe experiencing itself, consciousness observing consciousness, light seeing light. And when you see light, which is constantly, with every moment of vision, remember what it truly is. Not just photons bouncing around, but time-symmetric transactions connecting past and future, creating reality through observation, making the universe definite and actual through its interaction with your consciousness. You are looking at eternity when you see light. You are witnessing the mechanism of creation. You are experiencing the universe making itself real. That's not just physics. That's revelation. That's the deepest truth about existence that human understanding has reached. And now you know it. So what are you going to do with this knowledge? How will it change your life? How will you participate more consciously in the cosmic process of self-awareness? That's up to you. You're free, constrained by the need for self-consistency, guided by quantum feedback from your future, but ultimately free to choose how fully you embody your own pattern, how authentically you express your nature, how consciously you participate in reality. Choose wisely, choose awareness, choose growth, choose light. Because in a time-symmetric universe where consciousness creates reality, your choices don't just affect your future. They reach backward through time, reorganizing your past, shaping the complete structure of your existence from birth to death. You're creating your own eternity with every decision. Make it beautiful, make it meaningful, make it true, and remember the light. Always remember the light. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you for opening your mind to possibilities you've never considered. Thank you for being part of the universe's self-discovery. If this video has expanded your consciousness, hit that like button. If you want more content that takes you to the deepest levels of reality, subscribe and ring the notification bell. And share this with someone who's ready for their worldview to be transformed. Drop a comment telling me how this has changed your perspective. What will you do differently now that you understand the time-symmetric nature of light and consciousness? How will you live more consciously in the eternal now that you've always existed within? I read every comment. Your thoughts contribute to the collective understanding, to the expansion of cosmic consciousness through human communication. Until next time, pay attention. Be present. See the light. And remember, you are the universe looking at itself, and that looking is what makes the universe real.